Since 2009, the United States of America has been seen as the most prone to corruption among any of the advanced industrialized nations in the world. And then I direct your attention to Obamacare and the problems that it is having right now in the latter part of 2013. Right now, the website is completely in disarray. The vast numbers of people are not able to even create an account. And yet, according to the law, and that's what they've been saying up there on Capitol Hill, it's the law. We have to follow it. According to the law, if you're not covered, you will be penalized. You will be fined. Now you tell me if that does not write a prescription for tyranny when you are going to penalize individuals and families for not having health care, which is a law, when they themselves cannot even access your administration's website to create an account to start going into the marketplace to get health care, which they will not be able to afford. And from what I understand, pretty soon here, Senator Marco Rubio will be proposing a bill that will be saying, in effect, this website has to be up and running and certified as working for 6 months before you can penalize or enforce the mandate of health insurance coverage among the uninsured. And I've supported this, and I've supported this idea before about the delay process. I'm a law-abiding person. I believe that without the rule of law, you have chaos and you have anarchy. Given that, I believe that Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act, is an abomination. It will rip apart families, rip apart the very fabric of the United States, and I believe it's by design. I believe it's designed to do that. It is not designed to provide health care to anybody. It is designed to suppress and oppress and destroy. And it's interesting. You study history, and you'll find that the very things that have destroyed nations or impaired nations severely are those things that were most apparent to them, most apparent right before their eyes. And I believe that's where we are right now. We have become a very apathetic, a very entitled society. And so no matter what evidence we have before our eyes of the oppression of government, we still cling to it because it is the savior. We are entitled to the things that it is promising us, and it cannot lie. It just can't. No matter what evidence goes on, it cannot lie. Well, we know in our hearts and our minds that that is false. And if we deny that, we are really gone off the deep end. Again, I follow the law. This repulsive abomination of healthcare has been passed into the law for the United States. It's the law of the land. And you know what? I really don't know where to go with it from here, because there you can cite evidence upon evidence upon evidence of the destructive nature of this bill, of no, not a bill, of this law, but people will not see it. In fact, it is of such a destructive nature that it cannot happen by accident or by coincidence. The destructive nature is so apparent, so real, so big, so huge, so impactful that it can only be done by design. It can only be done by design. I have people telling me that they have actually got on to the website, done their shopping thinking they were going to get some affordable health care. And several have been denied because they didn't meet the criteria. Hello, no health care, which is what we were promised, right? If you don't have health care, you can acquire it. But also because even the very basic plans that they shopped for, the very cheapest, are like 2, 3, 4 times higher expense per month than anything they're doing right now. And so this whole law is fundamentally a flawed design, because it is cheaper to pay the penalty than to get this health care that is being afforded. It's amazing to me how we as a United States people have allowed this to even come before the floor of the Congress and the Senate. And I'm sure our President of the United States was just sweating his hands, couldn't put the pen to the paper fast enough. We have a severe problem with the redistribution of wealth. We were never designed, we were never meant to be a socialist or communist nation. The problems that we have with those that are supposedly being targeted for the Affordable Health Care Act, which they say is those that don't have health insurance and can't afford health insurance, the elderly, the sick, those things can be taken care of much cheaper, much more efficient through the private sector, not government. Our lawmakers took a huge, huge wrong turn when they brought this whole thing about. And of course, President Obama has spearheaded it, and he is dead wrong. It's just wrong. What should have been done, what would have been much easier, is instead of trying to reinvent the wheel under the umbrella of the government, what you do is you do some structuring, do some groundwork, do some weeding around the private sector to allow them to fix the problem. That's what's unique about the United States. Socialism and the redistribution of wealth might work in Canada overseas in Switzerland, but not here because we were not designed from the very beginning to support such a thing. We have different ideals. We have freedoms and liberties to pursue the American dream, to pursue happiness, which includes things like pursuing to have a business, make it grow, to have a farm, make it grow and sustainable, that you can pass it on to your posterity, to own property and do with it as you please, to collect funds, a paycheck, and to not be heavily burdened with taxes from it. All these are part of the American dream. The ability to move state to state without papers. The ability to live where you wish. This is American, it's part of the American dream. So anytime that you impose an agenda of socialism into this particular country, it will be met with disaster. And I'm not saying for that particular law or bill, because obviously you're going to have huge factions that are going to be supporting it. But it'll be met with disaster because you are trying to take a basic law, an unconstitutional law, and using it to transform the fundamental integrity and personification of the entire country, of all the inhabitants of the United States of America. What more evidence do we need to know that this is completely wrong? You know, it's interesting. Our abilities provided us under the Constitution of the United States to pursue our dreams, to pursue our happiness. Those freedoms and liberties are what make us the most generous, compassionate, and humanitarian country in the world. Think about that. Those liberties are what make us the most generous, most compassionate country in the world. Yes, we have major problems with those that are not insured. We have major problems with the border being so open. But that is a part of a problem that right there. But instead of reinventing the wheel, what our beloved president and his compadres should have done is to show a little genuine American leadership. Genuine American leadership to help steer the private sector to be more productive, to provide more liberties and freedoms to the people, so that we as a people can be more enabled to be more generous, to create better, more efficient programs, to provide affordable health care, and to correct these mistakes. So, as we continue with this little website debacle with Obamacare, let's just remember how we got here.